want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Good day, Mad Men Mafia. Oh, he's frozen. He usually says, "Hi, this is Kirk M. Samuels," but we're having technical difficulties for a minute. He'll be right back. So while we're waiting on Kirk, I'm Jason B. Kendrick, and we are the Mad Men of Masculinity, your home for healthy masculinity. And ironically enough, you know how we do, because it's February and it's the month of love and all that goodness. We had Beth Mongold on last week, and she was amazing. And luckily, we have lots of guests coming on, lots of people to talk to. And so this week, we've got a gentleman who is going to give us the male perspective about how to keep the fires burning, how to keep things going hot in the bedroom after you're married. So without further ado, Mr. Dan Purcell, welcome to the show. We're waiting on Kirk. There he is. He's coming back in. Kirk, he's
I
back.
have no idea what happened, man. I just got booted off into the ethosphere, man. I don't know what the deal is, man.
They didn't want to hear your dulcet tones. They didn't want to hear your
somebody's hating, man. They just hating on me out there, man.
Can't be having no time. But anyway, I did our intro without you. Yeah,
did
so
you?
I did our intro without
How'd you do? How'd you do? Right. Did you were you good? Or were you,
it wasn't quite as good.
Like,
it was kind of mediocre because it was off the cuff. I was just ad-libbing. But I did introduce Dan. Dan, welcome to the show. That's Kirk. Have you guys met before? Kirk, Dan, Kirk?
Yep, sure. Man, I'm telling you, I'm excited about this conversation, man. That's why maybe I'm so excited that my excitement kind of reverberated in the ethosphere, and that's why I got kicked off. Yeah, that's why I got kicked off a lot. But yeah, man, I'm excited about this topic, man. I'm excited to talk about it. I happen to be in a long-term relationship. I happen to be in a long-term relationship with two people. That's one person, my wife and my girlfriend. She's my wife, and she's also my girlfriend. Nice. And so I'd like to keep that going.
Nice. Good.
Well, Dan, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's get into this. I know the audience is gonna be waiting. Like, well, how do I keep the marriage bed spicy? How do I keep these things going? How do I keep the fires burning, the juices flowing, all that good stuff?
I'm Dan Purcell, been married 22 years. I have 6 children, and I'm a marriage counselor with a specific focus on helping married couples improve sex and intimacy in their marriage. So,
wow. Well, you have the experience. I mean, you got both of us beat by a long shot.
Dude, I tell you what, with 6 kids, you're an expert on sex and intimacy, or at least one of those in the context of marriage. So that's awesome stuff, man. That's awesome. So where are you based out of?
I live in southern Utah. It's beautiful here.
Oh, right on. Well, we got to come play golf out in St. George. What's up, JBK?
Yeah, St. George. Yep.
Yeah, I was just through there not too long ago. I was driving through down to Vegas from Colorado. So yeah, I was flying through there. But yeah. So as the expert, as a man with 22 years of experience and 6 children, how do you personally keep the fires burning and keep the intimacy going? 'Cause I mean, like most of us, you get into a long-term relationship, things kind of start to fizzle, things kind of get dull. I mean, last week, like I said earlier, we just had our Valentine's Day episode with Beth Mongold talking about how to keep it going after Valentine's Day. But you're doing the long term thing. So how do you do that?
Well, I can tell you a personal experience of maybe a time I didn't do it right and I kind of messed up. Maybe that'd be funny. We could start from there.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point in our marriage,
good place to start. Yeah.
Yeah, about 15 years, and I wanted things to be more exciting in the bedroom. So I approached my wife and said, "Hey," by the way, this is before I've become a professional at what I do. So anyway, I said, "Hey, I'd really like things to be a little more spicy, a little more variety." And the way I saw it, if only my wife would just, embrace her sexuality more and just be more comfortable in the bedroom and have fewer hangups, we'd we'd just be both having so much more fun, and there's a lot less conflict in the marriage. So the conversation didn't go very far. And around that time, I found a book. It was a really good book written for women on how to, embrace their own sexuality better and understand themselves. And I thought it was a great book. In fact, I read it twice. The second time through, I highlighted, underlined, notes in the margin, sticky notes, like pay attention to this. And I set it on her nightstand, and it didn't move. It didn't budge. For like 2 or 3 weeks, it didn't move at all. So I really wanted to read it. So I moved it from the nightstand and put it on her pillow. And then next thing I know, it's right back on the nightstand. So it's like, what gives? So we had a conversation about it a little later, like, how come you haven't read this book? If you read this book, things would be so much better in our marriage, and wouldn't have conflict around this anymore. And she's like, how do you expect me to sit down and even have any time to myself, let alone read a book? Like, with young kids, I don't even have it. Like, showering by myself is a luxury. Using the bathroom without someone like knocking on the door, sticking their fingers under the door is a luxury. And you expect me to sit down and like read a book? She had a good point. So I was thinking on my feet. I thought it was pretty quick. And I said, all right. Because in our home, in our marriage, I work outside of the home. She's primarily does the meal prep and shopping and whatever. So I said, all right, for 2 weeks, I'll take over soup to nuts, everything to do with meal prep. I will buy the groceries, plan the menu, cook, clean up, everything. In exchange for that should free up your time. And that's the time you can, draw a bath for yourself, take some time and relax, and then read this really important book. And she reluctantly agreed. Another part of the story that you need to understand for context is dinner time was also kind of a point of contention in our home, because when we have dinner around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, it's late. Dinner cleanup goes late. Getting the kids to bed goes late. And then before we know it, finally the days end and we're both exhausted and there's no time together anymore. So I always wanted, like, if dinner was earlier, things would be so much smoother. Then we would have more couple time too, and more intimate time. So for those 2 weeks, I had dinner done by 5:30 every night. And here's the point. Here's where I messed up. I let her know that I had dinner done. Like, I work full time and have a big load too, and I can still manage to get dinner done on time. You're home all day. How come you can't do that? Like, I maybe had not said those words, but that was really my attitude. So the whole time I'm in the kitchen making a show of how good of a husband I am and how thoughtful I am and how romantic I can be and how caring I am of my wife, banging pots and pans and whatever. She's in the bedroom, supposedly reading this book. Do you think she's like, oh, my husband's wonderful? Or how is she? What's her attitude? What's her mood?
It sounds like she's probably a little bitter.
Yeah. Right? Is she going to like embrace her sexuality now like this? Because fundamentally, what had happened in our marriage is I had set up a marriage, and she had a part to play in it. It always takes two, but I had set up a marriage where I was superior to her when it comes to sex. So I know what's going on. She doesn't. I know how to fix things. You need to do this. I can get this done, and then you do that. Like, so even the way it was set up, just even the dynamic was such that even if she did read that book and applied the things or whatever for me, I would have found something else to always go one step up above her, right?
Yeah.
And then she'd never catch up. And so if she ever complained, she's like, no matter how hard I try, I'm never good enough for you. Well, there's a lot of truth to that from her perspective, because just the way I set up the marriage and our dynamic in our relationship. So that's not how to keep the sex going long-term in a relationship.
I imagine not. How would that work on your side, Kirk?
You might get accommodation, but you will not get passion.
Yeah, I mean, I could. You got a few seconds into that story, and I was thinking, oh man,
Uh-oh.
this ain't gonna end good, man. This ain't gonna end good at all. But I totally get it, and I will, I mean, you've been at this long enough there, Dan, that I will also, chime in with the fact that you could be empty nesters and still have seesaw dynamic with sex and sexuality, in your home and in your relationship. And so a lot of it very easily develops when when you have kids and that sort of dynamic. And at the same time, you could have no kids around the house and nothing but the two of you. You could literally walk around naked all the time and nobody would outside the house would know. You got all the freedom in the world to do all the freaky stuff you want to do in the world. That still doesn't necessarily mean that it's all going to be dialed in all of the time between the two of you. So that's great perspective, man.
Yeah. And every marriage is going to have problems with sex at some time or another, because that's the way marriages go, long-term relationships go. It's if it weren't for those challenges, you wouldn't have those opportunities to grow. So if you're in a marriage right now and things aren't that great sexually, nothing has gone wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean you married the wrong person. It doesn't mean like all of these things. I view it as, and this is the way I approach couples in the work I do. This is an opportunity. It's an invitation for you to grow in some aspect of yourself, to develop yourself even more. And we can talk about what those things generally are in a moment if you want, but it's an invitation. These are stepping stones that are inviting you to grow into a more solid, a stronger version of yourself.
Yeah, it sounds like we're coming back to the key, which is the communication piece, which is always hard when you got, well, in your case, 6 kids. I mean, I figure a couple of kids would be hard. I mean, having a full-time job and 2 full-time jobs and a house to clean up, and then you got the kids to take care of, and then you got to figure out how to be intimate and, having that communication. Plus, we all, men and women, we communicate differently. And a lot of times what we think as men is very helpful doesn't come across that way to them, and vice versa quite often. And so I think after this next break or this first break, we should really dig into some of those things you were talking about, like that list of like some of the things that keep an eye on, because you're absolutely right. I've in my experience, I know Kirk and I've talked about it before too. Like a lot of times it's getting through those struggles that really get you to that point of like the true love and intimacy. It's almost like you're not even like really intimate or even getting there until you've had that fight or you've had that struggle or you've had those disagreements and gotten through it. So yeah, after this break, let's definitely dig into that, because I think it's going to be very helpful for a lot of our listeners to go, oh, let me write that down. So everybody get your pens and papers ready. Get that pen, make sure it's got ink in it. Get you some water and get ready, because after we get back from this break, Dan's going to break it down for us. So we'll be right back. We're the Mad Men of Masculinity. This is KLDC. See you in a minute. Cool. That was good.
Man,
I like
it's
that.
yeah, that's a classic story though of like, man, if she
Here, baby,
only
read this.
if
Here,
she
just do
if
this.
she would only get it, if she would only get it, it would be great, Or if the other person could only just figure it out, then everything will work out great. And
Sounds a lot like
how
if you
that
would
how
just
that
read
how
my
that
mind.
plays out in the modern marriage is, folks, a couple will send each other reels and shorts and all that kind of stuff from social media,
They're
which
hints.
says the thing that exactly, it's the bookmarks and the highlights and all that kind of stuff. The equivalent of that these days is, I'm going to send you this short or this reel or something on Facebook or Instagram that somebody said, and I really hope you get the message, because if you get the message, then everybody will be happy. But yeah, that doesn't play out
And
that
I
way.
don't have to say it out loud. You can just get it. You can just read
Yeah,
or watch,
right.
and you can just get it. And then I don't have to say it. It's
It's
like, oh,
very
you got
passive aggressive. Very passive aggressive, man.
Yeah.
is that why you keep
Well, I don't
sending
know
me
about.
reels? Is that what that is? Are you being
That's
passive aggressive?
exactly why I keep
Is that
sending
what it
you
is?
stuff. I
Let's
wish
see
you
what
would
it is.
do, man. If you would just get it,
Man.
if you would just pay attention, man, everything would be better.
All right, fine. I'll
All right,
book it
here we
next time.
go.
Jeez.
All right. And we're back.
Yes,
The
we're
Mad
back.
Men of Masculinity, KLDC, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City, on the interwebs, everywhere, all the
Everywhere.
podcast platforms, man, social
We
media,
worldwide.
et cetera, et cetera. The Mad Men Mafia is mobbing deep tonight. We got Dan's on, man. We're gonna book us a tea time down there in St. George. I want to go to that. You got a Cracker Barrel somewhere right off the highway down there. One of my favorite places to eat. We're gonna come down there. We're gonna play some golf or something like that, man. We're gonna do that, man.
Let's do it.
We gotta get it in.
On our next trip to Vegas, on the way through, we're stopping at Dan's place.
We'll stop through.
Cracker Barrel times. And
Nah, Dan got too many kids, man. Nah, he got too many kids, man. We ain't stopping at his place, man. No way. We ain't gonna get no rest. He's gonna be leaving us sticky notes and highlighted books and everything, man. We ain't got time for all that.
If you add up your kids and your grandkids, you match Dan.
Yeah, kind of, actually. Yeah, I'm kind of there. So, man, we're just talking about this whole dynamic of, or this, I don't know, journey, this interaction, this exchange between couples as we grow in depth and in long term in our relationships. When it's all new, it's all spicy, right? And when you're new and it's young, whether you're young or the relationship is young, you think it's going to be like this all the time. And I have a theory that no guy would get married if he thought sex was going to be terrible with this woman at any point in the future, right? And so we have this somewhat optimistic view that it's going to be fantastic. She's going to know just what I want, how I want it. And even if she doesn't, if I tell her, she's going to do it, and she's going to always be available. She's going to always be in the mood. She's going to always want something. She's going to want this all the time, because it's just that good, because I know how to throw it down. We thinking all this kind of stuff, right? And the reality is, especially from a guy's perspective, it normally just doesn't play out that way. And so we have to get past the fireworks to the campfire and learn how to stoke these fires and how to keep them burning over a long period of time. And so that was a very long intro back into this segment. But Dan, thank you for being here with this whole thing, man. I appreciate your insight.
Great. So you need to understand that building a great sexual relationship that's vibrant over the long haul is never just surface level answers. So like in my story with my wife and I in the book on the bed, fundamentally with our marriage dynamic, if we were to really go deep, you do not find people sexually attractive if you feel like they're superior to you or they're inferior to you, or you depend on them or they depend on you. Like biologically speaking, we don't find our parents sexually attractive or our children, right? Like something about like this dependency isn't. Yet a lot of marriages and the way they interact with each other, they treat each other kind of like too paternalistically. Some women joke about, yeah, I have 3 kids. Oh, 4 if you count my husband. Ha, 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 right? Like that's funny. But if that really is the marriage dynamic, you can guarantee that there's not going to be a lot of passion there, because we can't be passionate with someone that we're not on the same level with. There's another principle I learned that I wish I knew early in my marriage, and it's this. My wife steps out of the shower and I am excited. My body responds. I'm at attention. And like, I think it's go time. When I step out of the shower, now I'm pretty good looking. I'm fit. I work out. I don't get the same response from my wife. What gives? Yeah. Or after a wonderful, wonderful evening together with, really meaningful and pleasurable sexual experience, like the next day, that's all I can think about, how good it was and how I want to do it again. I asked my wife, were you thinking about it all day too? She's like, sure, a little bit, not really. What gives? How I thought we both enjoyed it, and it's not that she didn't enjoy it. It's this thing that and research backs this up, and this has been popularized by Dr. Emily Nagoski. She's written a fantastic book that explains this a little better. Is in a long-term relationship, generally speaking, one has a more spontaneous style when it comes to initiating sex and thinking about sexual things. The other is a more responsive style. Responsive meaning they're not thinking about it yet until like they're in the middle of it, and then it starts feeling good, and then desire shows up later. And in heterosexual couples, long term, women tend to gravitate more towards that responsive style, and men towards the spontaneous. But you have responsive men and spontaneous women also. So it's not just so black and white. Or you go through phases in life where you whatever. But the idea is, it wasn't until I understood, oh, nothing's wrong with my wife or nothing's wrong with me. It's just that we have different approaches towards that. And this got really clear to me as far as exercise. I'm a long distance runner. I like to run marathons, half marathons, things like that. And I hate lifting weights, but I'm getting older and I want to get stronger. So I got a home gym. And mornings when it's like time to go running, I'm excited. I want to lace up my shoes and go. When it's the mornings with the weightlifting, I delay. I spend too much time scrolling on my phone. And then I finally get to the weights, right? I keep putting it off. But once I start lifting weights and the blood starts pumping and feeling good, I don't want to stop. It feels great. So that's what responsive desire is like for me. I have a very responsive desire towards weightlifting. I don't have like that spontaneous desire, like I want to go at it right away. But once I'm in it, then it starts almost all the time. It feels good and I want to keep going. So once I understand that principle, like with my wife, that's the way she operates. It made a world of a difference. Now I can see, oh, okay, I can invite her into things. And she knows that about herself too. So she can put herself in situations where she'll maybe not in the mood now, but if I do these things, almost always I will be in the mood in it. And that's helped our relationship keep the spark alive.
Yeah, it sounds like a analogy I came up with on the last episode about, men are more like the electric car. You just push the button and they're ready to go. And the women are more like the diesel. You got to warm up the glow plugs. You got to give it a minute and then fire it up. Once it gets going, it's good for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you hear all those kind of all those analogies, the microwave and the crock pot and all those kinds of things. And and whatever that dynamic is, it's a dance. It is. And I've talked to several guys that, as we get older, sometimes that dynamic changes or shifts a little bit. As we get older as men, sometimes we need our woman to either initiate or help stoke a fire, and I mean, or start the fire even. But that thing becomes a dance over whatever period of time, and I think you have to put in whatever time or whatever effort is to put in the work to get good at that dance. Like any dancer, you gotta practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you gotta practice that, and you gotta develop the art and develop the skill, and that's a mutual thing. I mean, I think maybe as a couple, and I guess this is a pretty good question that I'll pitch to you, Dan. Is it something that you have to convince, or have you had to convince wives to become active participants in stoking that fire, or in creating an environment, I guess you could say, where sustained sexual intimate connection is realistic?
I'm hung up on the word convince. What do you mean by convince?
Well, what I mean by that is, I think we've established that, generally speaking, normally, even to your opening illustration, men are kind of forward thinking in terms of, okay, this is important to us. And I find, over time, and I've been in multiple marriages, unfortunately, I've found in experiences over time, it becomes harder for that to be equally important on both sides. And generally speaking, I believe that 51 at least percent of the time, it's normally the man feeling like anyway, he has to do the heavy lift to make, sex important in a relationship. And so my question is, in your work, do you find that that's the case, that it's the dynamic that most of the time it's the men? And if so, do you have to talk to the women, or, kind of put some things in perspective to women?
Perhaps. So if you do take a wide swath of the population, men do have.
By the way, I could be completely wrong.
No, you're right.
And everything I could be saying could be based off of my twisted experience because of me. Like I'm the common factor in every failed relationship I've ever had. So I could be completely wrong, and please tell me so.
No, you're right. Men do. And I think it's because of testosterone that really helps fuel men's sexual desire. And it's not just desire for frequency, it's also desire for novelty, like a wider array of things we want to engage in sexually. So, but if you take any two people, you're going to have a higher, or in any marriage, in any domain of it, you're going to have someone with more desire for something and someone with less desire, whether it be finances, like spending versus saving, or how to spend your vacation, how to raise kids, in-laws, religion, faith, like you name it. One's going to have higher desire, one's going to have lower desire. So sex is one of those things that are higher desire, lower desire. And it's not that having high desire is a bad thing or having lower desire is a bad thing. It's what you do with the differences. That's really what defines the couple. So sometimes the reason why the man has higher desire for sex isn't a good reason. Sometimes the reason why she's lower desire for sex might be a good reason. So just surface level, like giving, wives a pep talk. Hey, you should, increase your frequency, buy more lingerie, initiate more, without really understanding fundamentally what's going on in the dynamic of the couple isn't great advice always. So really understanding what's going on tells a bigger story as to why the couple has their differences, and how they're dealing with the differences matters way more than that there are differences to begin with.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the kind of usual masculine feminine just dynamic of in the relationship of how do we stoke those fires and how do we deal with the needs or even address the needs. I think even to your point, probably even like in your first example, like maybe trying to put the book on the nightstand or on the pillow and do those things, maybe taking a step before that and being like, hey, how can I help support this, or how can I do this? What would be good for you? Instead of being like, read this book, I'm gonna go cook dinner. So and speaking of cooking dinner, we're gonna cook ourselves a break real quick. We're the Mad Men of Masculinity. Let's do this on KLDC and on the interwebs worldwide, and we'll be right back. Yeah, when we get back to this third segment, let's definitely do some almost like, how can we prepare? This is going to happen. You're going to have these issues. This is going to be something that's going to come up. How can you kind of like, I don't know, not intervention, but maybe even be prepared for it, or use some of your expertise to be like, okay, this is going to come up in your marriage and stuff like that. This is how you can prepare. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Because I feel like the pressure is normally on men, and Valentine's is the perfect example of that. Valentine's is marketed such that guys, you better go to Walgreens, or you better go bring something, you better go do something so you can get something, right? And so it becomes transactional. But either way, the onus is generally speaking on the male to do the work or whatever it is to, I don't know, to go out and do the stuff and get the stuff. And so I don't know, that dynamic is just interesting.
He got to get the wood, start the fire, kill the deer, skin the deer, get it ready, and then feed the lady.
A salad.
All right, let's get back and let's get some preemptive advice for these gentlemen out there.
Your boys are back.
We back.
Mad Men of Masculinity. We are back, man. We having some in between break conversations and all that kind of stuff, and all that kind of good stuff, man. So when these kind of things are coming down the pike, then and again, you got a long runway in terms of your experience, man. You're not a rookie. You're not new to this at all, right? You've been around the sun many a times in this position as husband and father. in this, in your long-term relationship, and you do this work. And so as we as guys get into long-term relationships, get into marriage, I'll say even specifically, and we know these kind of things are coming. I mean, how do we prepare? I don't know if preparation is even the right word. Like, how do we get ourselves in the right place to know that this is part of the journey?
Yeah. First of all, I'm an optimist, like deep down inside. Not every marriage is doomed to have a boring, stale sex life. In fact, if you study, they've done lots of studies on who in the world is having the absolute most fulfilling, most exciting sex lives. It's couples that have been together 30, 40 years. Those are the ones that are actually like having the most fun, the most fulfilling, because it takes that long to really know someone. The skill isn't so much, when we're new and we're together and everything's fresh, desire is abundant, like we're going at it every day, sometimes twice a day. And then it's going to taper off. And then you fear the taper off. That's not, I think, the mindset. The mindset is more like, the more I know this person and the more I let this other person know me, the more I let my wife really know me deep and fundamentally, that allows for greater intimacy. And here's why. We can't make love to someone, and I'm talking about making love, like with your heart, not just with your body, like soul to soul. You can't really let someone into the private parts of your body and into your mind and into your soul unless you can really trust this person. So the great sexual experiences are physically pleasurable too, but there's something about feeling like, for us men, we feel welcomed, we feel invited, we feel brought into this. Language fails me. Like, I don't know, this sanctuary, the sacred place, this exciting place, special place. That's and especially when it's not just the body, it's about the mind also. Like, she's sharing with like things that sexually excite her, things that sexually like maybe some fantasies and so on. Like these are things that but she's revealing this. But in order to get to that point, it does require two things. The first thing is trust, which we talked about briefly. And you create trust by being trustworthy. So if I say I'm going to be home at 6:30, I'm home at 6:30. If she's speaking to me and shares something confidential, I keep confidences. Like, building trust, being trustworthy helps with that. That's the first part. But the second part is actually having a self. And this is what I mean. Here's a business context. Years ago, I was in a mastermind meeting with other business people, like a chamber of commerce type kind of thing in my town. And every time I'd go, I'd walk away feeling like I'm the failure in the room. Everyone else is getting the funding, the hiring the star talent, and getting the recognition, and I'm just grinding away and not move. Compared to them, I feel like I'm not making any progress. And because I look in the room and I'm always comparing myself to everyone else in the room and all their successes and comparing their best to my worst, right? Fast forward a few months, I had a few life experiences where I really had to dig deep and learn about my own value and who I am. Now I'm in that room. It's okay that so-and-so gets the funding or the star talent or gets a special recognition, because I'm okay. They can have their success, but it's not a zero-sum game. I'm okay too. So in a relationship, you could trust each other, but you still need to also trust yourself. You still need to like yourself and have a self you can even offer into the relationship. So what I try to do as I help couples and work with them is I help him and her really find out, like, where's the weak point in this relationship dynamic and within each person. If you want to have great sex, you have to have a self. Like, oh, I want to hear your sexual fantasies. Well, you have to develop them first so that you can share them, right? That's like an illustration of that. So where I'm going with this is when we talk about intimacy, it's intimacy is another way of saying that word. You've probably heard that before. It's that fundamental knowing and letting another person know. So you're not doomed from the get-go. Sex isn't not going to get less exciting as long as you don't compromise intimacy in your relationship. As long as you keep intimacy forefront and revealing yourself and also being trustworthy, but inviting your spouse to reveal who they are, that excitement is, that curve keeps growing up and up and up the longer you've been together.
That sounds like we got a new business for you, Dan. It's called Trust Self Intimacy Insurance. So you can just sell policies and teach them how to keep it going. Because I see your point too. Because since I'm the single one, I've never been married, never had kids. For a lot of my relationships, sex for me, started off so exciting because it was this new thing, and it was all about just getting there and getting to have this experience, being welcomed in. And then it somehow shifted my mind to becoming work. And then once it shifted that way, I started losing some of that. It was kind of I'm tired now, or then it was the opposite of like I was working and then I lost because of I'm tired, I'm stressed, I lose the libido. Then that becomes an issue. And so having kind of those experiences and then getting into a relationship, in my own experience, it feels like now it's less about the physical. It is still exciting, but I mean, you do it so many times, a body's a body. But it's more about that intimacy and really getting into like, who is this person and how do we share it? What's this energy together and how do we grow that? And, studying things like Tantra and things like that and getting the energy going and almost the synchronicity together. So it's not just a physical act, but it's so much more. Would you dig into some of that? Because I think the intimacy part, especially for a lot of guys, guys, we're pretty surface, we're pretty physical, she's got all the physical attributes I want. She's big booty. She got the breasts. She got the body. And I always want to play with that. But as you get older, you need more of that intimacy as a man.
Yeah. Well, I don't discount the body. I think that's important, right? And our own bodies too. But bodies do change. We do age, and gravity does its thing. And when you take that away, what do you have left to offer? If we think that the peak of a person's sexual prime is when he's 19 years old, we've got it back. We're all doomed.
That was a long time ago.
We might be in our physical sexual peak then, but as far as our cognitive, like, can you imagine at your age now, Jason, having a sexual relationship with someone compared to maybe when you're 19? Like, you have so much more of a self to offer, like way more. Like, as a 19-year-old, you can't even look the other person in the eye as you orgasm. You can't, right? Like, because you don't want them to find out that there's not much there. Like, don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
But now you've got a self. You've got depth of who you are. It's like who you're bringing into that relationship. And you mentioned the tantric tradition. That's one thing that I like about it. It invites that more soulful, more mindful approach to things. And so it's about developing who you are and not escaping from that. And that's ultimately the best thing you can bring to sexual encounters. It is who you are. That's what makes, and the combination of the two people, that's what makes the sex so exciting and vibrant and fun. And it's really, there's so much you can grow from in that moment.
And sex and intimacy, two sides of the same coin, right? He arrives at intimacy through sex. She arrives at sex through intimacy. And so, it can be a great cycle when it's working. And it can also be frustrating when it's not. When I talk to and even work with guys that struggle with I'll say pornography addiction specifically, in the context of a marriage, wives trip out when I say, you know what, a large majority of his porn addiction is really him seeking intimacy that he's never had before. It just happens to be with a virtual woman, where it's a place where he's safe. It's a place where he can explore. It's a place where he's trusted. He's trusted in this thing, and it just becomes, albeit, when especially on the extremes, it becomes emotionally safe for him. And safety is huge for men when it comes to emotional safety. It's huge for women when it comes to physical safety. And so on the flip side, from the woman's perspective, a lot of times she feels less safe when there's in that context, in that example, she feels less safe physically, even when he's emotionally attached to something else, though it be virtual. And so, but either way, my point is those two things, the sex and the intimacy, go hand in hand for both. But I think women would be shocked to know how much their man really wants and needs desperately to experience true intimacy, in a key part of his life, specifically in his marriage or in his relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very good. I think we tend to, like, back to that pornography example, I think we all seek intimacy. We all seek being known and accepted fundamentally. That is so core to what we want. And that acceptance really drives what we do. And the woman on the screen doesn't say no, doesn't say she has a headache, right? You ask for something, yes, 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 right? Never turns you down. There's no rejection. But the woman on the screen is never going to love you back. They're not going to care for you, invest in you, or cry when you die. Right? Like, there's no. It's shallow, and it's not ever going to produce the quality of a relationship that has depth. So, what would help if that's the situation there is look at where, again, it comes back to that fundamental dynamic between you and your spouse and go really deep. Like, what is it that we need to adjust or fix, or where do I set up a marriage dynamic? How am I participating in a pattern in our relationship such that I find this other outlet more appealing, and I'm missing out on something more deep that I could be enjoying? That would be a good question to ask yourself.
I
It's
think
absolutely a mile. It's a mile wide, but an inch deep. And
speaking of an inch
what we're
deep,
seeking
it's
in
time
the
for.
depth.
We're going to take ourselves an inch deep break, but when we come back, we're going to dig more into the intimacy side of this. I think Dan's probably got a wealth of knowledge about how we can really get into seeing each other. And I think especially for most men and most of our listeners, that's going to be the key, because we want to be seen as men. We want to be, emotionally safe and feel seen. And so when we get back from this break, let's dig into that. We're the Mad Men of Masculinity. That's Dan Purcell, and we'll be right back.
Okay, what direction do you want to go for the last segment?
Well, first of all, we're going to start off with how folks can get a hold of you. I don't want to squeeze that into the last 3 seconds at the very end.
Okay,
sure. I want to make sure that folks know who you are, how you can help them, and how they can get a hold of you. So I want to start off with that, so we don't squeeze that in at the end.
Is your email your website, or is that just?
Yeah, getyourmarriageon.com. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go away.
But I mean, to your point, with this last segment here, I mean, I think it's clear we need to have this conversation again. Like, I think we need to have a follow up to this bad boy at some point in the near future. There's so many things to explore, man, in terms of especially men needing intimacy.
Yeah, I think that intimacy, how to promote that, how to talk to it, how to see your woman as a man to generate the intimacy, and then how to kind of maybe, if you have any tips for ladies, how they can help make the man feel emotionally secure and seen. But I think the biggest thing is, especially since we're on the break and we can kind of rattle on for a minute, is that self part. Each person's got to know themselves, be comfortable with themselves enough to be able to express that. Because I know in my past, I was always performing. I was never being myself. It was performance. Like, look how good I am. Look how I can make you feel. And then it's like, it gets to a point where you're like, I'm tired of performing. I just want to be me. And so how do you, really show that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Kirk, before we get back to this last segment?
Nope. Let's rock and roll.
All right. Let's do it.
All right. Here we go. Fourth quarter time.
Red zone offense.
Quarter time.
Let's do it.
Mad Men, fourth quarter time. Hold up the fours. Here we go. Dan, man, as we were just talking over the break, we we got. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg, man. I'm kind of sometimes I get frustrated because we can't go as deep on at least with the radio segments. We can't go as deep as we'd like. So we got to have you back, man, at some point in the near future for some kind of follow up, man. I think
Yeah,
this stuff is great. You obviously got a lot of experience, and you're not some old crusty guy, but you got a whole lot of experience underneath your belt. So it ain't just what you heard; is what you know, man. And so leading straight into that, I don't even want to squeeze it into the end. First of all, did I hear you have an app?
I do. So my app is called Intimately Us. It's free on the Google Play Store, Apple App Store, and it is for married couples that want to spice things up in the bedroom. And it's ideal. Like, think Friday night, date night. We want to come home and keep the momentum going, have some fun in the bedroom. This is the app for that. It's called Intimately Us. So that's a great place to find what I do. And my website is Get Your Marriage On. That's where you'll find my podcast. That's where you'll find my Instagram links. And I have hundreds of other free resources for couples that want to improve intimacy in their relationship. That's getyourmarriageon.com.
All right, Kurt, go ahead and sign up. I know you're looking for that app.
Yeah, I'm about to, man. I think that's that's kind of interesting, is get your marriage on, not get your marriage off. But anyhow, that's something. That's a whole other over. Sorry about that.
Easy.
I digress, man. Sometimes, I'm a line stepper, man. I know. I'm a line stepper, man. I always got to go sideways sometimes, man. Sorry about that. Get your marriage on. That's well, I mean, Ric Flair used to say it's easy getting on, it's hard getting off. That's what Ric Flair used to say.
When you get older,
anyhow, well, it is what it is. So, Dan, man, what kind of advice would you have for men in terms of intimacy and creating an intimate space within the context of their relationship?
Yeah, first thing is, don't look at things like, if I do the dishes, she'll be in love, or if I sit and listen to her more, then she'll get in the mood. What you're trying to do then is you're looking at intimate acts. This is like loving acts as an obstacle you have to overcome to get to what you really want. Because what that does is invites the reciprocal in your relationship. Now she looks at, I need to have sex with him in order to feel emotionally close to him. Like, I'll endure sex so that I can actually connect emotionally. That's again, not what you want in a relationship. It's not an obstacle to invest in someone. It's not an obstacle to serve someone and love someone in a way that it really matters to them. That in and of itself is the investment. So that's one thought. Second thought is foreplay all day. Foreplay should begin the very moment your last sexual encounter ends. It's continual. And foreplay is loving. It's investing. It's when you kiss a little more passionately. When you hug, you hold on just a minute longer. You sizzle. You simmer. You just always create these loving feelings so that when time does come, when it's go time, you already have general warmth. You're already somewhat halfway there. You're just getting to your next level that much faster and easier. So, and that isn't about taking from someone. It's about investing and giving, which takes real masculinity to do. The third idea is the value of being honest. And by honest, it's not about like not lying. It's about just being more true to who you are. This is kind of what we talked about in the third segment. When I am honest, when my wife knows I can be honest with her and straight with her, I'm not going to like say things just say things that she wants to hear per se. Even though it might upset her in the moment, deep down inside, she knows that she can trust me. And that is so important in a sexual relationship, that honesty and that humility. And I define humility as a commitment to reality, like seeing things for what they really are and not trying to live in a fantasy of what you hope the other person would think is or what it really is. It's being kind of more rooted in reality. Really helps the sexual relationship. It lubricates it a lot. So those are the fundamental qualities to develop to have this long-term sexual relationship that's really vibrant and exciting.
Well, I'm glad you brought up lubrication because, as you get older, you need more of that. So, guys,
You sure do.
Easy. See, I told you. See, I'm not the only one, man. I knew he was going to do that, man. I knew he was going to do that. I'm not the only one, man, that goes sideways sometimes, man.
I'm stepping across the line, but I mean, that's just like the intimate lubrication. That's not even like being dirty about it. That's almost like having that mindset of foreplay all day. And
Jason, just stop, man. Just stop, man.
What happened?
You ain't making it better, man. You ain't making it better, man.
What I say?
You ain't making it better, man. You gonna have the FCC like calling up some phone numbers, man.
All right, fine. You go then. I can't talk. Okay, fine. You
go. No, I'm not going to talk about lubricant. How about that? But and then vice versa, Dan.
I know where you're going next.
Yeah. Hey, man. I like. Anyhow, don't knock my freak, man. Don't knock my freak. Hey, so Dan, just ignore our locker room banter here, man. What about advice? What about advice to women? Because a lot of our listeners and viewers are women. What about advice to women in terms of? We got the male perspective. What about to women in terms of creating an intimate and safe and that environment within the relationship for a man?
Okay, so a lot of the principles I talked about apply to both men and women equally, but there's one thing that is different, and this is backed by research, and it is this. If you think about it, and I ask this at my marriage retreats that I offer. I have in-person marriage retreats. I say, okay, men, what is the number one turn on for men? And after a little bit of discussion, consensus almost always is, for a man, the biggest turn on is to be with a turned on woman. If you know that your woman is super turned on, it is such a turn on for a man. So I asked the women next, what's your biggest turn? If being with a turned on woman is the most turn on for a man, what is it for women? Is it to be with a turned on man? And they all laugh. For women, being with a turned on man is not a turn on for them. It just isn't. But what is a big turn on for women is knowing that she is his turn on. In other words, women who have that self-confidence to know that who I am, who my whole being, but just by existing, just by being here, is the reason why he is so turned on. That is her turn on. So my advice to women is invest in learning how to turn yourself on by learning why you are his turn on. You don't have to, for most women, they don't have to earn it. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to fix the dishwasher or whatever to turn on the other person. It's just, they can just be relaxed reading a book in bed. Right? That is her, that's how she is turned on. But lean into that more. I think that's going to help your marriage so much more, knowing that you are his turn on.
So from that kind of brings to the point too. Should a man communicate more about why she turns him on, and express those things so that she's aware of it, or does that backfire?
If you're genuine, sincere. Now, if you're trying to manipulate her, that will always backfire. That's like me, with the book, right?
Yeah.
Or like with a love letter saying, "Oh, how beautiful you are, how wonderful you are," with the intention of trying to get her in the mood so that we'd have it's a manipulation, and our wives can smell it from a mile away. So don't do that. But if it's genuine, sincere, this is how much you matter to me. This is why I find you so compelling and beautiful, and I'm unapologetically attracted to you. Right? That's fantastic. I think that's really good for a marriage. Yes.
Yeah, you definitely hit the nail, because one of the things we talked about and we almost started our careers with the show on is nice guy syndrome. And nice guy syndrome is part and parcel of that whole manipulation for getting.
Yeah.
And so that whole being yourself, being grounded within yourself, being who you are, and being genuine is, from hearing from you, if I'm not wrong, is the path to true intimacy, is that genuineness of self.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And that kind of also leads into back to what you're saying about having a self. Having an identity to offer, maybe it's even having something outside of your marriage that you're bringing. And I'm talking about good in terms of, the things you're passionate about. If you're passionate about things outside of your marriage, you'll bring that passion. And again, I'm talking about good things. You'll bring that passion for, whether it's helping people or being a better man or whatever it is, bringing that, that sense of purpose and passion even into the context of the dynamic of your relationship is sexy. I mean, women dig that stuff, man. When you got a
Yeah,
purpose and you got a passion and you're doing something for good, that's pretty awesome.
absolutely. Yes.
So as we get down to the last couple minutes of this episode, which I mean, obviously it goes by so fast. We barely scratched the surface. There's so much more we need to talk about. But if you could encapsulate, if you had some bullet points, if you had some things that you'd want to impart as we kind of head down the runway, as it were, what would those be? A couple, just 2-minute drill. What can you impart to the couples about getting into that intimacy and keeping the fires burning in the marriage?
The differences you have in your relationship are gifts. So you lean into those differences, and you're going to, as you work together to lean into those differences, you're going to create something even better together. A short example, even how our country, in the United States, our Constitution was founded. In the Constitutional Convention, there's wide debate about how to run the government, and should representation be by population or by the fixed number of delegates per state? And that went back and forth. And what they ended up doing is being able to collaborate. They had different sides, different people wanted different, but they were able to set aside their egos long enough to collaborate, to come up with a solution that either side couldn't think of themselves, but together they created something even better. And that's the structure of the government we have now with that, like an upper house and a lower house, the Senate and House of Representatives. That's on a bigger level, but on a smaller scale in your marriage, it's about collaboration. You bring your strengths, I bring my strengths. Let's collaborate and let's create something together that's even better than we could ever have if it was just all my ideas or your ideas. And that's really the spirit of building a vibrant and exciting sexual relationship. It's let's collaborate here. Let's create something great we both want and work towards. And that's it's not easy, but you'll arrive at it if you keep working at it and you're committed to the process.
Maybe that's why people who have been married for 30 whatever long-term years, maybe that's why they do have the best, because they've figured that stuff out. They've gotten to the point where they've figured out that, we're better together than we are apart. And we don't add, we multiply when we're together. Maybe that's why those people with the long terms do that. So
yes. Yeah. Just take that time.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I would agree that was, I don't think you could wrap that up any better. Collaboration is the key, communication, all those things. And yeah, Dan, we're gonna have you back on. This is not enough time. This hour went by way too fast. And so once again, getyourmarriageon.com, Intimately Us app. Dan Purcell, thank you so much. And to the Mad Men Mafia, make sure you check out our guy. Check out the episode. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get podcasts. And until next time, we are the Mad Men of Masculinity, and we are out.